Honestly, I was gonna just drive my car off a bridge, to be honest. My name is Shamia Pile. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, and I now work at the Wildwood Lifestyle Center as a volunteer. And how I got here is an amazing journey that God really blessed. I came here because I suffered from a nervous breakdown. And the thing is, I had unresolved trauma. Growing up, it was a happy home, but it was a home where there was a lot of abuse. I think the worst time in life was probably when my sister was abducted. She was 13 years old, and she was raped by a group of people. They left her for dead on the side of the street. And I remember thinking, our family must be cursed, for things like this to happen because it didn't seem like it was happening to anyone else around me. I remember I had my daughter, and I thought I was okay. But once I had my daughter, it was like a trigger for me. I couldn't um I couldn't settle the thought of what's gonna happen to her. And in the end I dropped my daughter off with a friend, and honestly I was gonna just drive my car off a bridge, to be honest. And somehow by the grace of God I landed at a behavioral health hospital. I don't know how, but my husband found me in a hospital, and the Life Alignment program, they called and they set it up for me to come. And so the Life Alignment program, it was amazing. Like from there, it challenged my deep core thoughts, my feelings, my actions, and it helped me to examine what was going on in my life. And I started to have peace. I was able to forgive those who actually abducted my sister. I was able to forgive those who had abused me and my family. Now I actually teach the Life Alignment program, which is so amazing because I get to go in and to know in my own way what people are experiencing and to realize that, hey, when I walk in there, I can say, listen, whatever you're experiencing right now, this doesn't have to be the end. You can actually come out of this. I know because I was here.
Wow. Wow, and just wow.
Hmm.
Mia, thank you. Thank you for being with us and everybody, all the viewers who are here watching with us. Thank you for joining. And I hope, or I should say, I know that today will be a powerful, powerful discussion for
Yes.
all of us. So, Mia, thank you. Thank you for being on the show.
Awesome. Delian, thank you so much for having me. I am so glad that you're taking the time to just look at these matters. We're living at a time in Earth's history where people are brokenhearted, and they're looking for answers. And so I'm just so glad that you're taking the time to look at these matters, to give tools, to give tips, and shine the light on, what people may be experiencing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as I say, 39 down is how it started for me at 39. And I said, I have 30 years down, 39 down, years down, and then I have a lifetime to go. So I need to make some changes, in my situation. And so what I have been sharing is really what I have been learning. And
Right.
so having you today, you're going to teach me and you're going to share. I'm sharing my teaching, what I'm learning, I'm sharing it with others live. And so having you sitting down with you is an amazing, amazing opportunity.
Wow, thank you. And honestly, you say that I'm gonna teach you. I'm here to learn from you. And I feel like, don't you know, like yeah, I hear you on 39 down, right? Because it's like every year, sometimes I think I used to be a know-it-all or something. Like I thought I not only was I a know-it-all, but I thought I had to know it all.
Hmm.
And as I get
Yes.
older, I realize, you know what? The less I know, the better it is.
Yeah.
Possibly, depending on the topic, I guess.
Right. I like that about having to know it all because that's how I felt, I can't start something if I don't know it, right? I can't, if
Mhm.
I don't know it all, what am I supposed to say? What am I, but realizing that, yeah, life is a journey and we are
Yeah.
teachers of each other. We are
Yes,
teachers of
yes.
each other. So,
Right. And I guess
yeah.
that's how I feel too, like
Mhm.
I guess when I think about like not knowing it all, and that's what I hear in what you're saying, 39 down and more to go. It's like humility, being
Mm,
able to take the pressure out of having to have it all together, have it all right. You can just like let go of that and just enjoy the journey wherever you are right now, whatever it
that's
has for
right.
you. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's very, very true. And so we talk about your journey, and I said I told as I told you, I'll put a little bit of my journey in there too. But we watched this video that you made in partnership with the Wildwood
Hmm.
Center when you used to work there. It's my
Right.
understanding that you don't work there. You're not a facility there anymore.
No. Hmm.
Um, and so, but you actually, putting this video together really helps us to see, okay, where you're coming from, the layers of your journey and the layers of your experience. So take us back to that point. We're talking today about depression, specifically postpartum depression, but we'll see how it shows up in all the different aspects of our lives. So, get us back to that point. Um, you have a daughter, right?
Right.
Beautiful daughter, and then all of a sudden you just decide, well, I'm just going to jump off a bridge.
Exactly. I mean, wow, you know what? It's so funny. Science is always changing. A lot of times when I look back at my experience, I realized that I had actually been dealing with depression even before I became a mother.
Mhm.
And I'd been dealing with traumatic experiences, but not really dealing with it. I remember thinking I'd shared my sister's story in different places. I'd shared my own story
Mm,
with abuse and all these different things before, and I really thought I was okay. And
mhm.
it's interesting, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I really feel like that's where it started. That
Mhm.
perinatal depression, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like this for you, because I know you all have three beautiful kids, but
Mhm.
I know that for me, I was just like, what am I gonna do? I'm a mother. You
Yes.
know, I don't know about you, but I waited 10 years in my marriage before having kids.
Ah, okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I did, because I was so afraid. When I look back now, I was afraid to have kids. I was afraid
Mm,
of what could happen to them based on what had happened in our family. What had happened to my
mm.
sister. I
Right.
was I was like, I'm enjoying other people's kids. How about that?
Right, right.
But now, having my own daughter, I was faced with a lot of lies that I believed about myself, a lot of
Mm,
lies that I believed about God, and unresolved issues. And
mm,
so once my daughter was born, it was like a ripe environment for trouble, not because she
mhm,
was trouble. She was a gift, she was a blessing,
mhm.
but that lack of sleep,
Right.
right? I
Yeah.
tell you, I'm like, that is the most sleep you will ever. I mean, like, becoming a parent, you didn't know how good you had it until you became a parent and you started losing
Right.
copious amounts of sleep. So, man, the lack of sleep, and I didn't have tools. That's
Mhm,
why we've created our organization, Pain Unwasted. It's about putting tools into the hands of people, into the hands of organizations, so that they can become more mental health aware and responsive. And so I didn't have that. And I remember, can I just be transparent? People
mhm.
don't talk about
Yes.
this stuff, but on your show, I know you're down with
Yes,
it.
we need it. We need it all.
Listen, everything came to a head when I had a fight with my husband.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
when I say a fight, I mean a fight. I
mhm,
mean, I remember I was so angry, and I just kept thinking, like, this is God's fault.
mhm,
This is God's fault that, nothing's going right, and the lies I believed about God, that he's the reason why everything is bad and he's going to let stuff happen. So I started yelling at my husband. I'm
mhm.
screaming at him, and I literally grab a hold of him and I'm trying to drive him into the wall. And my husband, he's strong, he's attractive, and he just held me, and I'm screaming at him like, I'm done. I'm done.
Mhm.
And the rest is pretty much history. I remember being in the mental health hospital, and at that point I'm like, how am I here? You know?
Right. Well, that's a question. Like, how do you get from, did somebody see you? Do you know what happened in the gap between you going and then uh and ending up at the hospital?
To be honest, a lot is very blurry still. But
Mm-hmm.
I remember that I was going to drive myself off the bridge. And
Mm-hmm.
as I was going to do that, I just started thinking about, man, if I do this, what pain journey am I going to start for someone else?
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because someone else is going to lose their lives with me.
Mhm.
And I really don't remember much of what happened after that. I know
Mhm.
I had so many different delusions and fears that were going on, but I know that once I was in the behavioral health hospital, I feel like that was kind of like a wake up, almost like
Right.
somebody throwing cold water in your face, you know?
Mhm.
And I'm
Mhm.
like, wait a minute, I've been a missionary for over 15 years. I've been
Mhm.
a principal. I've helped to start a school, and here I am in a blue jumpsuit. You know? Like, how is this
Right.
possible?
Right. Because you feel like, okay, I technically I have it together. I'm doing the Lord's work. And helping all those people. And I
Right.
love my husband. I love my child. I love everybody. But
Yeah.
I'm in this situation. I, when you said perinatal
Depression.
depression, and that's one thing. We don't realize, like, every event every event in our lives can cause some different issues. And so for me, it wasn't when I so we did not wait 10 years, but
Right.
also we were not necessarily planning at the moment to
Right.
have a child.
Right.
And that set in for me, because then I felt I messed up. It was
Right.
my fault, because we were not situated yet. Our story is very interesting, but we
Right.
were not in a place where really having a child, adding a child to the equation was really not the wisest thing to do, right?
Mm,
And I felt like it was my fault for not counting my days right, and for not doing this, and for
right.
not doing that, and falling into already that depression,
Yeah.
right? And being scared, because I, unlike you, do not interact with children.
Mhm.
I have three.
Mhm.
I don't know how.
Right.
But I do not interact with children. I always tell this story when one time we were on a church trip, and there was a situation, and they gave me this child to hold, because I look like I'm so loving it. And they gave me this baby to hold, and they said, please hold the baby.
Yeah.
And I held the baby like this. And I was just like, okay, I'm holding the baby. I'm not going to let it fall, but that's it,
Yeah.
right? And then the baby pooped, and I was like, and the baby pooped. I'm just going to
Mhm.
keep holding the baby until somebody come and get it. You
Right.
know, that was me. You
Yeah.
know, and so now they're saying I have to be a mother. I'm like, is this thing gonna kick in? Like, what's going on? And so I started spiraling even before, and so
Right.
that's something to look for as well,
Yes, and I'm glad that you brought that up because, when I think about what you're saying, it makes me think about culture. It
Mm-hmm,
makes me think
mm-hmm.
about expectations versus reality. You know
Right,
what I mean? Like, there's this expectation that every mother, every woman wants to become a mother. And there's
right.
this expectation that when you become a mother, you will fulfill this and that, right? This is
Mm-hmm,
what it looks like to be a mother. And so, just as every person is different, our faces are different, just like every leaf on a tree is different, we
right.
all think differently about our situations. And I don't know if this was the case for you, Delianne, but for me, once again, it was that unresolved trauma,
Mm-hmm,
right?
right.
Because the lies that I was believing about what it meant to be a mother,
Mm-hmm,
like all of a sudden, I realized my belief in God was not stable. I didn't realize how much I had a fear of God, that God
mm-hmm.
is just waiting to punish me.
Right,
He's going to
right.
make something bad happen because I didn't get everything right. I didn't get it all perfect. And, what happened to our family is going to happen to my kid, and it is going to be my fault, just like you said,
Mm-hmm,
right? My
mm-hmm,
child's going to be lost, and this is going to happen because of me. And so, with those weighty emotions and those weighty thoughts pressing in, it was
mm-hmm,
really hard to be objective. And now add to that hormones, right? With our
mm-hmm. Right.
hormones, we know that with postpartum depression, when you look at the studies, they say that your hormones just go through so much, right? And the changes are rapid after that baby comes. Your hormones literally drop back to what they used to be, right? And you're like, whoa, add to that lack of sleep, and then you add to that lies believed.
Mm-hmm,
It's no wonder. I think way more people experience depression and experience postpartum depression, but we're also taught that, keep a smile on your face. It's gonna be
Right.
okay. Everything
Yeah.
will be
Or,
fine.
or it's just a baby blues, right? Because
Yeah.
there's this time period where we would call it baby blues. And
Right.
so, oh, it's just that. It's just, next week, just take,
Right.
or maybe if you can get one good night of sleep,
Right.
you get that, and we think, that's enough.
Right.
For some people it is, and for others not. I do want to touch on the point where you talked about, with your husband,
Right.
you had that argument and the anger
Mm.
that can be brewing in
Mhm.
within that we don't notice, because that was also a point for me, and so I'll I'll be playing in blank with the viewers. My postpartum depression, I only really was able to 39 down. It's 39 down. Okay. That's when the shift really happened for me, because my youngest one is 3.
Mhm.
And so, I've been dealing with this
Yes.
for years, right? My eldest is 10 and my youngest is 3.
Yes.
It just keeps on going. But
Right.
then the anger that is there, that sits in and that grows and grows and grows. And one of the turning points for me was that my husband asked me one day, "Why are you so angry?"
Mhm.
And I didn't have an answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes me want to share something that I
Hmm.
learned at the
Hmm.
when I was at Wildwood and I became the facilitator for the depression recovery program. It's the way our brain works, right? And
Hmm.
so it was really helpful to consider that, okay, first you think a thought, and from thinking a thought, we have a feeling. A
Hmm.
feeling. When we have a feeling, we act, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
from that action flows our life's outcomes, right?
Hmm.
So you think, then you
Hmm.
feel, then you
Hmm.
act, and then you have, right? And so this is actually how our brain works. A lot of times the, movies tell us, or you hear people say, I just feel some type of way, right? But
Hmm.
it's really how you're thinking. Now add to that, where do our thoughts come from? Our thoughts come from our beliefs. What do I believe? You know? And I heard it put this way in a lecture. Our beliefs really center around two things: what we believe about God and
Hmm.
what we believe about ourselves. Even those, there
Yes.
are people watching today and you say, I don't believe in God. That no, that doesn't apply. But even not believing in God is a belief about God.
Right.
And
Yes.
so it's how you believe about God and how you
Hmm.
believe about yourself. But wait a minute, where do our beliefs come from? Right?
Hmm.
Our beliefs actually come from our experiences.
Right.
So this is really powerful because when you think about it, your husband asked you, why are you so angry? Right? And for me, I'm attacking my husband. I'm like, ah, and it's like, he's like, why? What's going on? Well, let's consider our experiences. What
Hmm.
experiences have we had that are informing our beliefs about ourselves
Right.
and our beliefs about God, which now play into how we think, feel, act, and have?
Hmm.
Like, very simply put, if a person grew up and they're being bullied, right?
Hmm.
And they grow up believing they're ugly, you're not as good as everybody else, then, that's a belief about themselves, which automatically forms a belief about God. God, God said he made us fearfully and wonderfully made. But if I believe I'm ugly, then I really don't believe what God said.
Right. Right.
Already at the foundation, I don't believe what God says. I believe I'm ugly. Now my thinking and feeling, how am I going to think? I'm going to think of myself as ugly. How am I going to feel? Worthless, right? How am I going to act? One of two ways. Maybe I'll be hyper vigilant, got to have a bunch of makeup, got to always look,
Hmm.
be the life of the party. Or maybe I'm going to be an introvert. I'm going to stick to
Hmm.
myself, because I
Right.
don't believe I'm as good as everybody else.
Hmm.
And this impacts my friendships and things like that. Is this making
Right.
sense?
Yes, no, but yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
That's really the truth. And I can see, how, my beliefs, affecting me on a day-to-day like that, in that same way. Yeah.
And I want to add a layer to it. And this blew my mind. Okay. So now this is coming from a study that Baylor University did, and it's pretty old. It was done in 2006, but I feel that the information at that time is worth our look at. And so Baylor study, they said, America has four gods. They believe in a God that's authoritarian, they believe in a God that's distant, a God that's critical, and a God that's benevolent, loving and there for you. And you talk to most people and they'll say, oh no, God is love. God is love, and that's his nature. He's wonderful.
Right, right.
But what helps us to know what type of God we really believe in is a look at our parents. What type of parents or guardians did you have in your life? What were they like? Were they the type of people that were like, you better do what I say or else don't ask me any questions, just do it because I said so? Were they the type of people that were very critical? Nothing is ever good enough, nothing's ever right. You've got to, have it down pack. And even when you have A's where you still could have done better, right? Is it the person that's distant? God, it's not really in my life. You're kind of there. You're there when I mess up, right? But you're not really there otherwise, or you're there sometimes, the distant. Or were your parents very benevolent, And it's interesting because how we grew up can really impact that. And I want to add to that because, our parents did the best that they could with the information they had at the time, just like we are trying to do, right? But it's worth a look at to see, man, am I critical? Do I beat myself up like all the time? Is nothing ever good enough? Right? Am I distant? Do I just kind of zone out and I isolate and I'm not really there? It can really go back to what I believe about God, which means, hey, what experiences have I had that are causing me to have the experience I'm having right now? It's just one aspect of it. Yeah.
But it shapes us.
Yeah.
It shapes us, And so when you giving different examples, and I can see, I can see myself, and part of that, and we'll get to that about blame and shame and different things like
Come
that.
on now, yeah.
But when you start doing the work for yourself, and sometimes you realize those things, and you say, well, how come they didn't do this and they didn't do that, and realizing that it's not about so much blaming others. Everybody does what they can with the tools that they have.
Exactly.
Right, but it doesn't mean that it does not affect you
Come
in a
on.
certain way, right? And so now you have to heal, with what you've been taught, and what the was it the scenarios or the beliefs that you have, about God and about yourself. You have to heal from that. So without blaming others,
Yes.
but also with progressing in your life. So
It's so true. And, it's really powerful. Like I remember when I was in the behavioral health hospital, and I tell this story, I was there and, in the behavioral health hospital, in order to get out, you have to, show that you're making progress, right?
Right,
At least the one I was at the time. And so, you learn how to be good so you can get out. And I remember thinking, as soon as I get out of here, I'm going to do it, but, but man, there would be a group of people and they'd be sitting at the table giving thanks and giving praise. Now we're all there in our blue jumpsuits, okay? And I'm looking at these people and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're in here giving God praise. You're having testimony time. Seriously? You're having testimony time in the behavioral health hospital. And I remember there's a veteran and he said, man, I want to thank God. I'm only hearing one voice today. I want to thank God for only hearing one voice. And me being ignorant of mental health at the time, I was like, oh, I just went off on him. Unfortunately, the Mia, the little nice Mia, always be sweet, had just gone out the window. I was like tired of having that mask on of like, better be the good girl, better be the nice one, the kind one, whatever. It was a mask that I had learned to wear, right? And so I'm telling this guy, I'm like, there's no way you can be thanking God for hearing one voice. That's demon possession. What's wrong with you? I'm just going off. And then he's like, you'll see, Mia. You'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see, Mia. And I'm like, what do you mean I'll see? He's like, you're gonna see, you'll see. And that's all he said. And I'm like, wow, I don't know what you're talking about, but I remember writing with my little crayon, like, God, if you're real, I need you to show me what he's talking about. He said, I'll see. What will I see? I need you to help me. And I can say God really did. He helped me to see that I believed lies about him. I believed lies about myself. And they were informing my decisions and they were informing a whole lot of fear, and expectations that I had of myself. And it was okay for me to say, you know what, I actually really didn't want to be a mom.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
actually didn't really want to be a mom. You know, somebody else would be like, oh, don't say that.
Right.
No.
Don't say
But
that.
I didn't want to be a mom because I was
Mhm.
afraid.
Right.
I didn't want the pressure.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It wasn't so much about, I just want to live my life. I mean, I probably did too, but it's like I I didn't sign up. And so now here you have that little child crying and screaming, and you have all these lies believed. You think you're supposed to be perfect. You think you're supposed to have it
Mhm.
all together. You're supposed to be this type of person, and if you don't, your kid's going to hell or they're going to get hurt.
Right.
Something bad's going
Right.
to happen. Just a lot of pressure, and God wanted to strip all that away. And I think it's the same for all of us, those of
Mhm.
us who are on here and they're watching the program today. And maybe, as you're listening to Delianne and I, this really resonates with you.
Mhm.
Like, wow, what expectations do you have on yourself? Where did they come from? Did they
Right.
come from God for real? Or is it somebody else that you kind of saw as that God
Mhm.
figure informing your 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 mental health, literally?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Right. No, that's so much.
Yeah, it's
So
hard.
much, but very true, very true. The and for those who are watching, if you have questions for me, if you have comments, please, type in the comment section. We are here to share and to help also. So if you have questions or if you've been through similar experience, by all means, drop some comments. Um, I like one thing that you said
Hmm.
is the integrity factor. We have to walk with integrity. We have to be our authentic self. And if your authentic self is, I did not want to have a child, then that's what you need. That's the truth that you need to approach,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then after that, we can work on, why. And then now I do have the child. So what are we doing? And then that's when you can then open up to loving,
Yes.
right? But if you don't ever really admit
Yes.
the truth, then
Yes.
how can you show up in truth, you know?
Yes.
And yeah, I can say that it was, for me especially. So we have two, and just by saying the sequence, we had a girl, and when we had a boy,
Hmm.
and then we had a girl. You already
Hmm.
know. Number three, it was just like, oh,
Hmm.
because perfect family. You have a boy and a girl. Why are you going
Hmm.
to have another one, right?
Yeah.
And so there was, that time where, again, we're talking about the perinatal and the natal and the postpartum, right? But when you're already in a cycle, and every time for me, postpartum depression
Yeah.
showed up differently,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
I felt like I was coming out of what I was experiencing with my son, my second
Hmm.
child, and I felt like I was okay. I was getting
Hmm.
there,
Yeah.
and then boom, and so
Mhm.
then it's like, what is going on? What am I going to do? And I was very, very, very afraid.
Yeah.
I even shared that with my husband. I don't know if I'm going to make it,
Yes.
right? I do
Yes.
not know if I'm going to make it through
Yes.
this, you
Yes.
know. And that was, I don't, at some point before, after we
Yeah.
found out, but say, I don't know if I could make it through number three, going
Right.
through all this a third time. The
Yeah.
pregnancy, I'm always, everybody's like, oh, you're so beautiful pregnant. I'm like, yeah, you know, I don't mind,
Right.
the magic of having the life growing and the things
Yes.
like that.
Yes.
But then the labor and delivery for me, um, it's more, there's postpartum and then there's PTSD
Right.
from labor and delivery.
Yes. Talk about it.
um,
Yes.
there is PTSD from labor and delivery that we
Yes.
do not talk about.
Yes.
And again, so what I went through with my second child, and I had to be on oxygen and different things, and I was like, you know, no more, right? And so now you having that fear, that PTSD kicking in. What is going to happen this
Yes.
time?
Yes.
And then it goes through, and it was,
Yes.
of course, there's issues, and then but then the child is here, and I will tell you, my first child, my first reaction was, what am I doing with this baby? And
Yeah.
then they say, oh, we have to go weigh her. And so I was like, oh, thank
Yeah.
God. Because, I'm good. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
here it is. Oh, baby,
Yes.
please take her.
Yes.
But third time around, the anger that
Yeah.
I had, right, was take your baby.
Yep.
Just take your baby. I don't, fine. She's out here,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah.
And then you have the guilt of what kind of mother does that, you know?
Reality versus expectations.
Right. What kind of mother would just say, I don't want to deal with it, and she'll cry and I'll say, well, it's your baby, like I could not deal with it. And so I do want to tell that, it shows up in different ways. And it
Absolutely.
doesn't just affect the person that's going
Yes.
through it, right?
Yes.
It affects the husband,
Yes.
affects the family, and the whole entire family, the in laws, and everybody, it comes into play. Um, and so it shows up in so many different
Yes.
ways. And so, when we get to the healing part,
Yes.
we have to be able to be authentic, to tell ourselves the truth.
And I'm so glad we're talking about this. This is very controversial, like
Mhm.
that reality versus expectation again,
Right.
and that, what kind of mother are you? That
Mhm.
resonates with me,
Mhm.
because I mean, I have a whole journal about, what type of mother are you? How could you be
Mhm.
like this? You know what I'm saying? And man, it makes sense, everything that you're saying. And research tells us that, when we suffer from depression, that we're more likely to suffer with it again. It
Mhm.
becomes a risk factor for us when
Right.
we've experienced trauma, when
Mhm.
we've experienced hardship. And who has not experienced trauma and hardship living in
Mhm.
planet Earth?
Right.
Right. And here's another one. So as a mental health first aid instructor, I love that part of the program is destigmatization, right?
Mhm.
The
Yes.
destigmatization of mental health. Because guess what? Somebody could listen to what you're saying or what I'm saying and be like, oh, you should have been stronger, or
Mhm.
it's your
Right.
mind. You need to strengthen your mind. And the
Right.
thing is, depression is an illness. It's an
Mhm.
illness just like any other illness, right? It's
Mhm.
not that you're a weak-minded person. I'm a weak-minded person. There's something wrong with you. How could you let that happen to you? That's what I used to
Mhm.
say to myself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
How could you let this happen to you? You should be thankful. And I used to hate that, right? You should be thankful. And I used to hate it when people would say, there's people out here that can't have a child, and look
Yes.
at you, you need to get it together. But this is all going in my mind. You know
I
what I'm
told
saying?
myself that. I told myself
Mhm.
that. Nobody told me that, but I told
Right.
myself that, especially again, number three,
Right.
because I was so upset. I was so angry about it.
Yeah.
But I know people that I love and
Yes.
that cannot have
Yes.
children. And they're looking at me like, bless you, you're so blessed to have, to be
Right.
able to, and so I tell myself, how can I be so ungrateful, right? How can I even think like that? But again, your truth is your truth.
And I would dare say it's really not the truth, if I may dare say.
Right.
What I believe that it
Mm-hmm.
is that there are things that God wants to heal in
Mm-hmm.
our hearts.
Right.
The experience. Remember, we have an
Mm-hmm.
experience or experiences, and from that births our thinking, our how we believe about God, how we believe about ourselves. And when that voice comes in to put us down and say, what kind of mother are you?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of person are you that you should feel this way? I don't know about you, but I would think, oh, God feels this way too. This is how
Mm-hmm.
God feels about me. And
Right.
that's not true. God understands. Oh, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to write it in my journal. I call it my brain detox, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
today I feel this way. And then I write down my automatic negative thoughts. And then I'm having my
Mm-hmm.
conversation with Jesus. And he always starts it with, I understand. I understand how you feel. I understand I'm not looking down at you. I'm not looking at you with eyes of disgust and shame and what's wrong with you for thinking this way about being a mother, about being a person. I love you and I know exactly why you feel the way that you do. And guess what? I can help you with that. I can
Yeah.
take care of you with this. And I want you to tell me. I want you to voice your frustrations about how you feel about being a mother. I want you to vent it out. I want you to yell and scream or whatever, however you do it, and to plainly admit it, like, this is how I feel, this is what's going on. And I don't even know why I feel this way. Maybe some people can
Right.
point to it, like I can point to it and say, it's because what happened to my sister, it's because what happened to me. And there are people who are like, I don't even know why. I don't even know why I feel this way. I just know that I do. And
Mhm.
so what I love about that is God is a revealer, right? You
Mhm.
remember um Nebuchadnezzar, I mean, for those, people that are into, reading the Bible, he's a revealer of secrets,
Right. Yeah.
and there may be something that God can or needs or wants to reveal to us about our situation
Mhm.
that you'll see, and when you see it, you'll be like, wow, I
Wow.
didn't realize it.
Yeah, yeah, that there are things that God wants to heal in
Yeah.
our heart. He wants to reveal and heal.
Yes.
And sometimes we go through certain things that um, it just doesn't make sense, right? Or but then, right, we understand if you a verse in the Bible, we understand by and by, and it's not just when you get to heaven or whatever, but
Right.
it's
No, no.
through different situation you understand what God was trying to show, what He was trying to do in our lives, in our lives.
Mm.
How long? So that's a question, and I don't know. So you have, how old are your children now?
My kids, I have a 4-year-old and I have a 2-year-old.
Okay, so we okay, because I was going to ask, how long does it last? So some people have this, and husbands, often you're going to go to you have 6 weeks, right? Americanized way. I
Right.
have some people from other countries probably watching, European background,
Right.
where we get more time at home, right? But in the American way so far, is you get 6 weeks, and in 6 weeks you should just magically have healed from everything that has happened to you
Right.
in this situation, in this
Right.
labor, delivery, child, sleepless, all those different things. And so oftentimes we go to the doctor, and the doctor checks our organs, right? The birth canal, the vagina, everything looks
Right.
good, good.
Right.
Go on and live your life.
Right.
And for women, and for husbands, for fathers, um, it is. I think it's a misconception that now you're okay. I'll tell you, my first child, and I was like, oh, okay. He said everything went back to normal. Good, life is going to go back to normal.
Right.
No.
No. No.
Yeah.
No.
So how long do you, in research on your experience,
Right.
a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, how long does this thing go for?
Right. So, this is a really good question. And I want to answer it, I guess, a couple of ways,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, the first way I want to answer is very controversial. It's the same answer I give when a person loses a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be, how long does it take you to heal from an amputation?
Ah.
Right? So you experience an amputation,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
of course with the amputation you learn how to live with the amputation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
never your let's say it was your leg. You will never have your leg again,
Right.
right? But you do learn how to live without your leg. Maybe you get a prosthesis. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? You maybe you have crutches the rest of your life. And while yes, you can go on with your life, but on some level, you've experienced amputation and all that went with that. Learning that you would need
Right.
to have an amputation, actually being amputated, and then you know, and even when you see people that have both of their legs, sometimes, and this doesn't mean you're a terrible person, but sometimes you may be like, man, I really miss having both my legs, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same way when you lose a loved one. But now
Mm-hmm.
someone might be like, wait a minute, Mia, we're not talking about losing a loved one. We're talking about having children here. We're talking about
Right. You're
having
bringing
life.
life. You're
But think
bringing
about this
life,
as a
not losing.
mom. But I feel, and this is my personal, somebody's going to throw me under the bus maybe. But I feel like as women, we don't realize that there's a part of our life that's amputated.
Yes.
There's a part of us that
Mm-hmm.
is amputated. Whoever we were before we became mothers, that
Mm-hmm.
is gone now.
Right.
Now we're moms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, I'm just gonna go there, but I'm still waiting to get all my curves back.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, man, I didn't, because I mean, for me, I had to have a C-section, and I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't, I wasn't planning on that. I was supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
I had expectations versus reality. I had an
Mm-hmm.
expectation of how my birthing experience was supposed to go. It went
Right.
nothing like that. There goes another amputation,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So it's like, whoa, wait, and even though my daughter's healthy, and this is to save her life, they said,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I'm glad that my daughter is alive. My daughter teaches me so many things. She has saved
Mm-hmm.
my life, literally. But like, man, wow, that was still an amputation. you know and
It
so
is.
going back to the question of how long does it last. We know that there's a spectrum when you think about mental health, right? There's a spectrum of wellness, of becoming unwell, of being unwell.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm well, I'm becoming unwell, I am unwell, and then I'm becoming well again, I am well. Does that make sense? And
Mm-hmm.
so when
Mm-hmm.
I think about postpartum and really depression period, you know, you can always you're you can always become sick again.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense? You can
Yeah.
always get ill. You can always become ill again because
Three
depression
times.
is an illness. Exactly. It's an illness. And so I like to think about it is, where am I at on the spectrum right now?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of thinking, you know what, I've been having this for so many years. No, wait, there's a spectrum that I'm on. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not just me, actually, everyone is on a particular spectrum.
Right.
Some
Yeah.
people, we develop depression, other people actually develop cancer,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Or
Right.
fibroid,
Oh,
or
yes.
or a heart attack. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So everybody's way of dealing with their mental stresses and pressures manifest themselves different ways. Somebody will be depressed, somebody will perhaps, be thinking about suicide. Another
Mm-hmm.
person will just be really mean to everybody around them. You know what I mean? Or super controlling,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the person who's super controlling might say, you need to not have a weak mind, get it
Right.
together. But we're looking at them realizing, hey, your mental health is actually not intact either, person, because you can't not be in control. You don't know how
Right.
to surrender, you
Oh,
know.
that is such a good point. That is such a good point because we are talking about depression, but showing how that imbalance in our wellness shows up in different ways.
Yeah.
Our mental health,
Yeah.
right? It shows us in different ways. So you can go through experiencing depression, but you can also experience different illnesses, different mood
Mhm.
swings, different things, anger and other addictions and different things that come into play. And so you might feel, well, I'm not a depressed person, or I have it all together, or I'm in control of
Right.
this and all that. But then it shows up in, okay, now you have cancer, or you have an accident, or a freak injury, or
Yes.
different things that can show up. That is so true.
Right. And I mean, of course, the studies are going to say that, okay, if you're experienced, like, that, you can experience perinatal depression. It can happen while
Mm-hmm.
you're pregnant. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, right after the baby is born, you could be experiencing symptoms within 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
They usually tell us, you look for impact, right? If you've been
Mm-hmm.
experiencing certain emotions for 2 weeks or more, 4 weeks or more, it's
Mm-hmm.
time to see your doctor. And that's important for those who are listening on,
Yes.
and
Yes.
especially what I like to think about is impact,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure there are people watching today who, maybe you haven't had children, but you might be experiencing signs and symptoms of depression, and you're kind of wondering about it.
Mm-hmm.
Consider, how has your mood, how has your emotions been impacting your life over the past 2 weeks, over the past 4 weeks? How are you able to show up, like you usually
Mm-hmm.
do? Or are you only able to show up in certain areas? What's the impact? I
Right.
think about car accident when I think about mental health as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, is this a fender bender? It's just a little something happened, or boom, did my door get hit? and I can't open my door, so I've got to get help with that? Or am I in a full on, my car's been totaled and now I need that kind of help. I need a whole new car, you know? I think about that with mental health. So as we're considering that, where are you at on the spectrum? Are you becoming unwell? Are you unwell? And it all has to do with how you're able to show up, you know?
Right.
Of course, some people would benefit from medication, and I know this is very controversial. I would have been the person to say, "Oh no, don't." I didn't even like taking medication for my menstrual cycle, which was so
Right.
painful and knocked me out. I'm like, I don't even want to take medication for that. But once I had medication just for a little bit of time, it allowed my brain to do what it had stopped doing because of the depression, right?
Right.
Some people
Right.
think like, oh, I can just do, this, that, and the other. I can just go running and walking. And yes, that does help a lot of people, boost endorphins, help your diet. But some people actually do benefit from medication. Some people's mental wellness is of such that medication is going to help do what their brain has stopped doing. There may be injuries to your brain that you're not even aware of. Your brain can literally be injured from how you think, and so that's something to consider.
Right. Well, and that's, I was just talking to somebody recently about that. The medication, can be useful,
Yeah,
It's just like if you have high blood pressure,
right,
right? It's, yes, maybe drink some green smoothies and go,
right,
whatever, right? But in the moment when you have high blood pressure, it needs to be addressed right
right,
then and now. So you need something that's going to help it go down and regulate. And once you are at a certain level, then you can say, I need to
right.
take a hold of my life and my
Mhm,
habits and
mhm.
get to where I can wean off the medication
Yes,
and still have a good level of blood
yes,
pressure.
yes,
Right. And it's the same thing. We have to see how things correlate. It's
yes,
the same thing with mental health.
right,
You may need something for a while, right, to help you
yes,
get to a certain level where you can now then process, get to the next level. So the medication can help you, so where you can now it should actually talk and
yes,
journal and go outside
yes,
and
yes,
get out of bed.
yes,
The medication might just be to get you out of bed,
yes,
right? And it just kind of recalibrates a little bit to where now you can use other tools and see what's going on, and so never, putting down medication, long
right,
term
right,
medication with just maintaining a certain way without any other work,
right,
that can be dangerous, right?
right,
But medication that will help you to get to do
yes,
the work, right, that you need to do is
yes.
definitely helpful. Yeah.
I wanted to kind of rewind back a little bit to something we were talking about too. That's powerful. I was thinking about the power of journaling. You kind of brought that
Mm-hmm,
up,
mm-hmm,
right? Like you
mm-hmm.
can, once you're on the medication, it can help you actually want to journal and do things that help to declutter our minds.
Right.
I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, journaling is just so powerful. It's a
Mm-hmm,
wonderful way to clarify our thoughts and what's on the inside being able to come out.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
I was thinking another thing I wanted to talk about was we talked about being moms, right? And we
mm-hmm,
talked about, man, like actually not really perhaps wanting to be a mom, and yet now we are moms. What do we do? You know
mm-hmm,
what I'm saying? Like what
mm-hmm.
what
Right,
what do we
right.
do now? I can't. And you don't know how many times I've been like, man, I just, if I didn't have my kids, they'd be safer. If I could just, and
Mm-hmm,
that was actually what made me become unwell. I started to
mm-hmm.
think about, they'll be better off without me,
Right,
and they'll be
right.
better off not alive.
Mm-hmm,
Like it
mm-hmm,
got really bad for me, and I was unhealthy. But now I realize that that's a lie believed.
mm-hmm.
It's
I
a lie
like that, like
believed.
belief.
A lie believed, right?
Mm-hmm,
A lie believed. And I heard this from
mm-hmm,
one of my favorite authors. His name is Tim Jennings. He's a psychiatrist, and he has wonderful work out there about
mm-hmm,
healing the
mm-hmm.
mind.
Yep.
In any case, lies believed, he would say, break the circle of love and trust. And
Mm-hmm.
so one lie that I was believing is that I wouldn't be a good mother.
Lies
You know,
beliefs
break
break the
the circle
circle of
of
love and
love and
trust.
trust. And see, it's not, the issue isn't the lie as much as the fact that I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so now when I think about why I didn't want to be a mom, it was because I was believing lies about myself and about God.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I wonder if for other people who can identify with this, if we were to take time in journaling to peel back why do I feel the way I do?
Mm-hmm.
To peel it back. And God is a revealer, right? A revealer of secrets of the heart. He
Yeah.
showed me that I was afraid of being a mother, one, obviously because of the past, but
Mm-hmm.
I also thought that I wasn't going to be a good mom.
Right.
I was afraid of repeating maybe mistakes that my
Mm-hmm.
parents had made, or,
Mm-hmm.
the society, like, oh, and I was a perfectionist,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I felt like, any mistake that I made, I critical God mindset,
Mm-hmm.
beat myself down. And
Yeah.
so now there was so, right, you can feel this, right? So now I
Mm-hmm.
had so much pressure on my heart about being
Yeah.
a mother, that it was ruining my experience
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
had all these, my child is going to turn out this way and that way. I'm not going to do a good job. Any mistakes that my children make, even while they're alive right now, if we're at church, I'm at church, right? If they're making a mistake, oh, that shows that I'm a bad mother. I didn't discipline them
Right.
right.
Yes.
I didn't pray enough. I haven't, oh, my child, she was chubby when she was a baby. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not feeding her right. Like all
Mm-hmm.
these,
Mm-hmm.
just pressures and expectations that were ruining my experience as a mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally
It,
just
it it
ruining
does. I mean, there are so many things, with that. I mean, for me, it was breastfeeding that I couldn't do, right? But
it.
then my first one, she was really chubby. It was cute, all chubby. But they were like, "Oh, is that breast milk you're feeding her?" And I'm like,
Right, right, right,
actually, And then I didn't answer everybody, but
right,
for those that I were closer and I answered, and they're like, "Oh, well, try again, try." And it's like,
right.
oh, you
Exactly.
don't understand, right? So many things, so many factors that come into play, so many
Yeah.
factors that come into play. We're getting close to, unfortunately,
To the end.
to the end, but I always want to leave people with tools. And so we've talked about our experiences. There are many, many layers. For me, like I said, 39 has been a pivotal point, in my life. And so imagine, going, it's been a 10-year span of, having children. And so, and also miscarriage, right? We don't talk about that, but miscarriage is also, you have postpartum from, because it's a partum. It is a, you have to separate from, the lifeless being, right? And all the guilt and the shame that comes into that. And so you want, for me, going from one, then, getting over, thinking that, okay, I'm ready to try again, and then I had the miscarriage and trying to work through that. Then I have another child, and I felt like an absent mother. And then, then you had another one, and I'm so angry because what am I going to do? Every time, we go on and on those cycles, like you say, it's, you are prone to it, and you are prone to having it reoccurring. And so for somebody, maybe who is pregnant and going maybe through perinatal, who just had a baby postpartum, how can we can help? And for those who have 2 3-year-old 4-year-old 5-year-old children and still feeling that they're not themselves, what can we do?
This is awesome. Okay, so I want to say this. Number one, we really need to ask God to help us get rid of shame.
Yes.
We talked about that, and then maybe in another show you'll have me back on if and
Yes, we
you know
already said this is a reoccurring event, so
Right, so this is part one, right?
part
So
one.
so shame.
Mhm.
There's a lot of shame that we need God to show us how to let go of. How
Mhm.
can we not shame ourselves? How
Yeah.
can we also not should on ourselves, right?
Mm.
Should is a cognitive distortion. It's a
Yes.
distortion with reality. I should have been able to do this. I should have had that. This should have happened this way. That's a
Mhm.
cognitive distortion. It's not reality. You can't do anything about should. Should is paralyzing. Don't should on yourself. Here's
Mhm.
another one. Give yourself grace. Grace every day. Grace to be imperfect. Grace to not have it right. Grace to not be the perfect all-star mom that's in your brain, that she should look like this, she should feel like
Mhm.
this about her kids, she should do it this way. Grace to kick her to the curb and be whoever you really are. And here's some more. Let us be open to therapy. because I love therapy. I told my husband I'm going to start wearing a shirt that says therapy, yes. Okay. Because the thing about, and I don't know, but as women of color, you know, in our history, that's been something that we maybe have not been allowed to say that we need. You're supposed to be
Mhm.
strong and know what to do. And especially a woman of faith, right? You're supposed to
Mhm.
have it.
Mhm. Mhm.
But let us be open to therapy, to finding a good counselor. And if the first one and the second one don't work, that we go again, because
Again,
so
right?
it's so good to have someone else be able to hear our thoughts and be able to help us see, where do I believe lies? Where am I believing things that are not helpful, that are
Mhm.
tearing me down? I want to share this resource.
Mhm.
It is a number. Okay, you're on this beautiful interview today, and you are experiencing depression and anxiety, and you don't feel like yourself, and you may feel unsafe. I want you to call this number. For those of you who are in the United States,
Mhm.
you can call 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. This is a national suicide lifeline number. And I want you to know, I've had to call this number plenty of times. And it's not a thing where the police are going to show up at your door. They know how to get you from a hot moment to a cool moment. And I've been able to call it and go about my day. You can use the text hotline for those of you who may be at home and you're like, I don't want my husband to hear me on here talking about, I don't want to live. I don't want to be here.
Right.
You can use
Mhm.
the text line. You can text home, the word home, HOME, to 741-741. Now, listen, for those of you who are looking on from a different country, please feel free to look at go on the internet and see what resources you have. These numbers are awesome. It's judgment free, and they have really gotten good feedback in calling these numbers. If you're
Can
on here and you're
can
like,
you say,
listen,
I'm sorry, can you say that number again? Home to
home,
seven.
you would text home, the word home, HOME,
Mm-hmm.
to 741-741.
Okay,
And that's
seven
for
four
if
one
you're in the
seven.
United. Mhm. And that's for if you're in the United States. But those of you who are watching who are not, Google or do a web search for what's a text line in my country or in my area, and your
Right.
number may be different. You can use that, or you can what's a suicide prevention lifeline. You can also do warm lines. So you
Mm-hmm.
can do a web search for a warm line in your area. A warm line is where you're like, Delianne, Mia, I am not suicidal, but I don't feel like I have anybody around me that I can vent to, and I can just say
Mm-hmm.
what I want to say.
Right.
So a
Mm-hmm.
warm line is there for you to be able to do that. You get on the warm, you can Google a warm line in your area, and they can listen to you, they'll talk to you, and they'll give you further resources. Even Psychology Today is another one that you can look at to find a good therapist that you might be interested in. So those are just a few things that we can say right now. I have more, but our time is almost
Oh,
up.
that's okay. I'm typing it so I can have it,
Sure,
and then I can. It's showing up only on YouTube, but I'll put it also
sure.
in my Facebook in a moment.
And so do
What
you
can
want me to?
I?
Mhm.
So those numbers. I like that you're saying that they're not. They're not going to come and get you and take you
Yeah.
to the to a mental hospital.
Yes.
Because there's that fear again, lies believed, right? That if I show my weakness, or if I say that something is wrong, then my kid's going to be taken away, or they're
Right.
going to come and get me,
Right.
right? And it's not so much the case. It's more you
Right.
need sometimes somebody to
Yes.
talk to,
Yes.
right? To untangle things a little bit, right? To
Yes.
give you some tools to get you on your way. What can somebody do? So what can somebody do beside calling those numbers? And we talked about journaling
Yes.
as well,
Mhm.
right? And is there anything else that you can do
Mhm.
at home,
Yes.
right? To help.
Yes, absolutely. Oh man, there's so many things. So, oh, one, this is my favorite. So we talked about journaling. I love doing a brain detox. Okay. So with
Mm-hmm.
the brain detox, what you do is you write down, how do you feel today? That's how it starts. You write down, today I feel. And so when you write that down, how do you feel? I feel good. I feel ugly. I feel fat. I feel accomplished. You don't have to judge your thoughts. You just share whatever's in your mind. Today I feel. And it doesn't have to make sense either, because you can totally feel beautiful and yet defeated or fat at the same time, right? So
Right.
you're writing down all those things. So then the
Mm-hmm.
next thing, you write down your ants. automatic negative thoughts. What are the automatic negative thoughts that you're experiencing right now? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas the first part was words, ugly, fat, beautiful, accomplished, lazy, tired. Now in your ants, you might be saying, my husband just doesn't understand me and he never will. Or,
Right.
the people around me don't respect me. I'm a terrible mother. Like I'm just going to be just like everybody that's gone before me. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, when you look in the Bible, we have Bible personalities doing this: David, Elijah,
Right.
Jeremiah, other people. Okay, but anyway, that's another show. Okay, so you write down your ants. What are those thoughts that come to your mind? And then the next line, if you're a person of faith, you could write down conversation with Jesus. And
Mm-hmm.
now you just talk to God about, what you had in your ants and the today I feel. And for me, I remember when I didn't believe in God and I was using this exercise, and I couldn't say I was talking to Jesus. I just journaled about what I had
Mm-hmm.
written. And
Mm-hmm.
then you always end with, what are you thankful for?
Mm-hmm.
For a person of faith, they might say five praises. What are five
Mm-hmm.
things you can be thankful for? What are five things? Um, I can be thankful the day is over. I can be
Mm-hmm.
thankful that I had something to eat. I can be
Right.
thankful that I didn't want to eat today. Whatever it is, always ending that way. And the brain detox, just like you have to go to the bathroom every day,
Mm-hmm.
you have to relieve your bowels, right?
Right. Right.
You have to relieve your mind every day too. Somebody might say, "Oh, Mia, Dillian, I don't want to do that. I feel if I put down my negative thoughts, I'm giving them power." But the
Mm.
scripture tells us to take every thought captive, right?
Yes. Right.
How can you take something captive that you don't see? You have
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
recognize that it's there.
Right.
Another thing is that it's putting them down to size. You look at that paper, and now you can see patterns of your belief system,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I noticed that every time I do this detox, this is coming up for me over and over. And
Mm-hmm.
so those are things that you can be talking to God about. So there's more that we can do, but I call it the brain detox. It's
Yeah. Oh no, but that is very, very, very powerful. Very,
yeah.
very powerful. I do want one viewer had a question.
Mm,
Lorraine said, "How should people who are dealing with you during this period help you?" And
that's
so I had, for me, my husband was, I there was a lot of sleep going on, and he had to step in and be mommy, daddy, everything because yeah, it's kind of like I would just check out. Like end of the day, you say thankful for the day to be over. It's like I put my time. I'm going to sleep. I'll figure it out. You
right.
know, and then and for my in-laws coming in the situation, then they had to also step in, take the kids sometimes. But I'll tell you, there was some guilt to that, to where I'll say, well, how come I can't take care of my kids? Or if they take them, then I'm not getting the time that I should have. I only have the weekend, or I only have this and all that. What kind of mother? And it goes on and on.
Yeah.
But so how can people show up, and help you, and maybe how can we receive it, properly?
Okay, that's good. Man, there's so much I want to say. Okay, let me do a selfless plug. One, I want to say that you should consider taking a mental health first aid course. All right,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a mental health first aid instructor, so I'm gonna
Yes, yes.
selflessly plug this program because
Mm-hmm.
honestly, you're so right, Dillian.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're looking at our loved ones and we see that they're struggling, but we don't know how to deal with it. We don't know what to do. And
Right,
so
right.
mental health first aid actually teaches a person how to recognize signs and symptoms and how to
Mm-hmm.
respond appropriately,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes we might tell people, just snap out of it, get it
Mm-hmm.
together, you'll be fine, just go
Right.
get your nails done and you'll feel better. No, we need other tools, right? And so I want to, I would love for you to take the program with me, but if not, you can Google it. Okay, mental health first aid is a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
program, and it does have international components for those who might be looking for it. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that's one. So now going back to, I think that was Lorraine's question. That's an
Mm-hmm.
awesome question, Lorraine. People that are your family members, right? Number one, acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
Accept what's happening for this person right now and accept that it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we think, oh, this person just wants attention. They're just, putting on. No, if they're experiencing mental health issue, it's an illness just like any other illness, especially if
Mm-hmm.
it's been going on for more than 2 or 4 weeks. Okay. It's an illness just like any other illness. So acceptance, And also, like, what can you do to support them? You know, in the course we talk about things that are helpful and not helpful, right? So it's not helpful to say, oh, you'll feel better tomorrow, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or it's not helpful to say, you know, oh, that happened to me 2 weeks, you know, that happened to me, I lost my mom before, or oh, I've lost a child, I know how you feel. That's not
Mm-hmm.
helpful. But what is helpful, or something you can do as a family member to support them, is say, wow, you know, I can see that right now you're struggling, and I want you to know that I'm here for you. Or if they, you know, they tell you, you know, I've been struggling, I've been thinking about this, I've been doing these bad behaviors, all I do is sleep, I've been calling out of work, I've been drinking like crazy. Man, I'm just so glad you told me. I'm here
Mm-hmm.
for you. I want you to know I'm here for you. And then see what resources can you connect them to. You know, can you connect them to their primary care physician, who can rule out any other medical conditions they may be having? You know,
Mm-hmm.
can you connect them to a hotline or helpline?
Mm-hmm.
Um, can you cook a meal for them? Can you give them that space, judgment free, to be able
Mm-hmm.
to get rest or get their hair done or just be alone, right?
Right.
Those things are very helpful. And definitely not shaming the person. You know, like, that's going to be important. You know, with our words, you know, we may have a way that we feel about what we're seeing in that person, but we don't understand them. But God does. And that's where I believe prayer comes in. We say,
Mm-hmm.
God, you're a revealer. Show me in this moment how to show up for my family member. And we
Mm-hmm.
can definitely, in conclusion, I guess, talk to the family member about what you're seeing and let them know that you care. You know, like, I'm noticing this about you, I'm noticing that about you, and I don't understand, but I want you to know that I care. And I want you to know that if there's anything I can do for you, I'm going to do that, and I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to be there for you. I said that was the last thing. Can I say one more?
Oh, please.
Family members that are watching this,
Mm-hmm.
you take care of yourself too,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
Because it can be
Oh.
hard. And Delianne, you brought that up. You know, it can be hard to see your loved one, you know, experiencing what they're experiencing. You don't understand it, you don't get it. You also need to take care of yourself so that you
Mm-hmm.
can show up for them while they're going through what they're going through. So, what do you as a caregiver, or you as a person that's a support person, what can you do to support yourself right now in the midst of everything?
Right. Yeah, that's so true. And I'll say something. You said something that kind of it triggered some a thought.
Mhm.
You said that they would somebody may express certain things to you
Right.
that they're going through. But I want to say sometimes they don't even know what they're going through, and they're not even able to express anything. And so, because sometimes we go, why didn't you tell me that it
Mhm.
was so hard? Why didn't you call? You haven't called me in how long? In understanding that maybe a person is not showing up. You're talking about identifying when they're not showing up. They may not be showing up in the circle of friends, not may not be showing up um, in the family in the way that they're used to, but they may not be able to express what is going on. And so recognizing that also is important.
And that's so good. And realizing, I love that you said that, because, you know, there's some people I know I can talk to, and there's some people I feel like I just have to say I'm fine, right? If my
Right.
daughter asks me, Mommy, how are you doing? I'm fine, baby, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm,
inside, you know, and so this is two things. Having, who do you know supports you no matter what you say or
mhm,
how you
mhm.
say it, being able to
Right.
think about who that person is and identify them. You
Mhm,
know, is there someone that if you start cursing and swear, you know, doing all, you know, they're like, okay, I'm here with you and I'm here. And realizing that you may not be that person, also support person,
mhm.
right?
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
might not be the person to hear all that, but
Right.
let me find somebody that I think can be that person, you know.
Right.
That's really important.
Right. And so much to
Yeah.
cover. We can go on
Yes.
for hours. And I would say I was this week, full disclosure, this week was
Yeah.
difficult for me coming up. So when we connected, I was like, yes, we can talk about
Mhm.
postpartum depression.
Yeah.
I've been looking for somebody all year. And
Mhm.
then it set in that we're going to talk about
Yeah.
postpartum depression. And I kind of spiraled down.
Yeah.
I get migraines this year, and it's been going really well, and I had the most painful one. And I had to, sit down because I know that it's that emotional aspect to it,
Yeah.
and kind of detangle my little webs there.
Right.
And so coming here and sharing with you and
Hmm.
hearing from you and the teaching, just beautiful,
Praise
just
God.
beautiful,
Thank you. Thank you. I
just
was so
beautiful.
glad to be on here with you. It's an honor.
Oh no, thank you. I want you to tell people. So you talked about the mental health first aid program. I want you to tell people how they can find you for
Mhm.
this program. Anything else that you're offering? You speak in churches. You speak in corporate world. You speak anywhere where God leads you. So
Yeah.
tell us how to find you, how to connect with you.
Yes, sure. Please, you can reach out to me on pain at my website,
Mhm.
painunwasted.org. And if you sign up there, you'll be getting some tips on forgiveness. That's the thing that we're putting out, just 5 quick myths about forgiveness, right? And things that can maybe hold us back from forgiving a person, or we may think we've forgiven a person, but why am I still angry? So if you go ahead and subscribe there at my website, then you'll be getting those 5 tips on myths behind forgiveness and how to address it. But also, you can. I want you to consider. You're here. We have a program that we do. We try to assist organizations in being able to be more mental health aware and responsive. But we also have a thing that we do called Nourished Mind, and this is
Mhm.
a program where you can come and just focus on your mental well-being in a small group of other like-minded individuals who are just trying to get more clarity and um, to end the suffering, honestly,
Mhm.
in the suffering of cycles that maybe they've been going in, and you want help with that. And so you can reach out to us and see what we have to offer, and hopefully you can do it today
Mm-hmm.
to find out. Yes.
Yes, I want to have you type, put all the links and everything in the comments, making sure that it's on all the platform that we're streaming into today. So um, Pain Unwasted, and I love that name, Pain Unwasted .org, and
Yeah.
you'll find all the information that you need to sign up for the different groups to book Mia. This is not just for women. This
Right.
is for families, for
Yes.
um, professionals, for
Yes.
for teachers, for students, for mental health health professionals. Really, if you are a person and you lost someone,
Yes. Awesome. Thank you.
you benefit from the mental health first aid course, and just
Right.
helping for you to have a safe place
Mhm.
where you can talk, and talk and share. So
Awesome.
thank you, thank you, Mia. You will
Mhm.
be back.
Yay! Can't wait.
You
Yes.
will be back because there is so much more to talk
There
about
is.
on mental health. And so, thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you for those who commented, who stuck with us through this hour plus, and those who are going to watch later. Continue, to post your comments. 39 down is on Facebook group, 39 down on YouTube. You can find all those videos as well. And do you have a YouTube channel or a group on
I
Facebook?
do have a Facebook page. Yes, you can look us up on painunwasted.org, and we do have a few videos and things up there yet that you can check out.
Awesome, awesome. Well, this is the end of our broadcast today. Thank you, everyone, for joining it. And thank you, Mia, for this wonderful, wonderful conversation. Until next time, guys, live well and love.